Hey guys. All right, so today I'm going through a full Pinterest audit for someone. Josh Band of A Backpacker's World allowing me to share all this with you guys. So thank you, Josh. I appreciate that so much. And I just kind of wanted to tell you guys what I do when I do an audit, kind of what that process looks like. And then I'm actually going to walk you through part of it. I'm not going to give you everything, but I'm going to walk you through some of it visually here as I point some stuff out. On Josh's Pinterest account. And then separately, I'll send Josh an email as well, which will have this video. And then I'm going to have a whole bunch of other stuff in the email, really specific things that he can do to just improve his Pinterest presence and hopefully drive more traffic to his blog. All right, so that is what it's all about, right? We are trying to drive Pinterest traffic to our blogs. That's what we want to do. So when I start a Pinterest audit, the way that it begins is I start with the blog itself. I'm going to start there before I ever look at your Pinterest account. I look at the blog and I'm asking some questions about, okay, like what is your niche? What are the topics that you are focused on the most, moving forward? I'll ask those questions of you. And then I'll look at your blog, can I get a feel of not only the general feel of your blog, but also more specifics about the blog itself and what kind of things you're going to write about. I actually make a list myself of the boards that I think are appropriate for you based on just your blog. Still haven't looked at a Pinterest account yet. I'm just looking at the blog side of things for now. And I want to make some board names. So I jot all those down, excuse me, first. Now I'm ready to dive into the actual Pinterest account. And I'm going to go through the existing boards that you have, or if you're brand new to Pinterest, I'll just give you those recommendations of the boards I think you need. But if you already have an account, which most of us do, then I'm going to compare my list to what you already have, what boards you have, which ones do I think you should keep, which ones do I think you should change, and which ones do I think you should archive. There will be occasional recommendations to delete boards. However, we want to keep that to a minimum. If there is any pin on a board that you have that you're hoping to get traffic to your blog for, you don't want to delete that board. Okay. You just want to archive it. If you archive it, basically it just takes it off of your page and, but it's still kind of like tucked away. It's just hidden. And so that is what we want to do if we have pins to blog posts that we still, might get traffic for. We just want to hide those away by archiving. But if you do have, sometimes people will have a Pinterest account that they, originally it was a personal account that they switched over to a business account. So they may have a bunch of personal boards on there. If that is the case, I would get rid of those. If you are using this Pinterest account as a business account and you are using it for your blog or your business, you want to get rid of those personal boards completely. So you can always have more than one Pinterest account. So that's what I do. I have one for my business and I have one personal account. I use Pinterest all the time personally. So I love it for that. And I have recipes and, all the different things that we have on that we can find on Pinterest. I have those all, but they're on my personal account. I do not have those on my business account, and you shouldn't either. All right. So once I have done that, then basically, and then I'll go through each board and I'm kind of looking, I just look for all kind of things that I think are good and things that I think are bad. So that is what I'm going to cover as a few of the things that I have seen on Josh's Pinterest account today with you. Some of the things that I've seen in his account, like things that I like about some of the boards, things that I don't like, things that I would change, kind of overall concepts of some of the things that I look for. All right. Just so you have a taste of what this Pinterest audit is all about. All right, so Josh has got all of these boards currently. So we've done no updating of this. This is just what he has to start with. So there are several things that, and by the way, I may come across as negative in this audit. That is not, that doesn't mean that he's doing everything wrong, not by a long shot. Okay. There's a lot of good stuff going on here. So I will try to make a point to say those things. But when I'm doing this process, I'm really looking for opportunities, right? I'm looking for places that we can improve. So I'm kind of looking for the problems. So sometimes the audits tend to come across as negative. That does not mean you're doing everything wrong. Please don't think that. It just means that my job is to find the wrong stuff and point it out to you so we can fix it and improve everything. So one of the things I will go ahead and say on that note is our profile description. So I read through this. This sounds great. Okay. So Josh's Backpackers World, the niche here is backpackers and budget travel is kind of the main theme here. So I read through this profile description. I think it looks pretty good. I may change it up, may recommend changing it up a little bit. And I don't actually make any of the changes, by the way, on a Pinterest audit. I just look at everything. I take notes, I create a video for you, and then I send everything to you. And it's all recommendations. It's all my opinion. So you can take it and do whatever you want with it. You can take none of my advice, or you can take all of my advice and implement every change that I recommend. I would probably implement some of those changes if you have if you've hired me to do an audit for you. Okay, so let's just look at a few of these things. So off the top, like right off the bat, there's a few things that I see. Okay, so one thing I see is that some of these Pinterest boards have a cover, right? See how this Ireland one it's got a picture of Ireland and it says Ireland travel tips and guides. And then we have Iceland travel tips and guides, Florida travel tips and guides, etc. Okay, some of them do, some of them do not. So here's the thing about Pinterest covers. I don't care about them at all. And your Pinterest users don't care about them at all either. Very rarely do Pinterest users actually look at your profile. I'm not saying it never happens. It does sometimes. They will come look at your profile and they may follow you that way. But that is not the point of your Pinterest account. And it's few and far between, and your readers don't really care. That's the other thing. So I think honestly, it's more for us because we are looking at it all the time. And we like for it to look pretty and everything to look, the same and all of that. And if you want to do it, by all means do it, but just know that it's not important. It isn't something that you have to be doing. So here he's got some and he doesn't have some. That's fine. Like I would not put any time into creating new ones. As you do some of these, you just want to make sure that whatever pin is showing up as your cover is one of yours, number one. And number two, that it is centered in a way that the people can read what is on that pin. So for example, this budget travel guides, you see how the cover is kind of cut off, right? The words are cut off at the top. I would just go in and pick a different one. Pick one that has the text more in the center so that the text is showing up. Just like the Southeast Asia board has it in the center. That's perfect. Or this North American one has this one. That's perfect. Find one that's got your text all in the image though, or no text in the image, one or the two. Okay. But not halfway. We don't want it cut off. All right. So let's see what else we have. Okay, so another thing that I see is that some of these boards, actually quite a few of them, don't have very many pins yet. Now that's okay. Josh may not have been pinning very long. We may not have very much going on yet in these. And so it's okay. It's understandable that you may not have pinned your own stuff a ton yet and have all of your pins for, every, let's just take turkey, for example. You don't have all of your turkey content pinned yet to this board. Totally fine. However, we want to send a really clear message to Pinterest, telling Pinterest what this board is about. So one of the things that I would do right off the bat for anytime you create a board, the first thing that I recommend is actually kind of pre-filling that board with relevant content, really relevant content. Okay. So don't put things in it that are kind of on topic. Pick things that are definitely on topic with this board. So for turkey, when you do create a new board, by the way, Pinterest will automatically do this for you. Like it automatically tries to get you to pin stuff to a board. Go ahead and do that. I recommend like 10 to 20, and I would probably veer towards 20. Like just go ahead and really quickly, it doesn't take long. It doesn't matter if it's like a really high quality, if the pins lead to a high quality blog post. It's more about just telling Pinterest what the board's about. So go ahead and quickly pick 20 things that you can pin to your new board that are very relevant to the board. So Pinterest knows exactly what this board is about. And then you can take time filling it with your own content. That's okay. So for some of these that only have, like this turkey one only has 5 pins, that is one of the first things that I would do is anything that has less than 20, I would go into that and I would go into your account, go ahead and search turkey or turkey travel or whatever, and go ahead and fill this up until we at least have 20 pins on every single board. Okay, so you probably just saw a change in me and the lighting and all of that. That is because I had a technical difficulty and I accidentally stopped the recording, continued talking, of course, but didn't realize the recording had stopped and didn't realize it till way later in the day. So I have just jumped through time and now I'm back with you to finish going over this audit. Okay, so we just talked about our boards and how we want to fill those up with some stuff. Now that is other people's content, by the way, when you first start that board, and that is absolutely okay. I personally do not recommend pinning other people's content after that. I only use it at the very beginning on a brand new board to fill it up a little bit. And then after that, I only pin my own content. So that is one tip for you. Okay. So the next thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to go through every single board. I'm going to look at the board title, make recommendations if I think it needs to be changed. I'm going to look at the the board description and make recommendations if I think those need to be changed. And remember, we're sprinkling in those overall high volume Pinterest keywords into all of that. And then I'm going to look in each board and see what's in there and give recommendations about specific pin design, things that I think need to maybe be moved to a different board, that kind of thing. And then another thing that I'll do at the very end of the audit is I actually will send my client 5 branded, custom made pin designs for them to use, templates. And so they can grab those and then, tweak them and adjust them and use them as they like. So that is that. Okay, so let's look at a couple of these boards. Now, of course, I did some of this beforehand, so I just want to show you some of the things that I discovered. So here we have this England travel tips and guides. And if I click on that board, what I see is almost exclusively London content. Okay. Now, there's nothing wrong with London content. London content's great. However, if most of my England content is really about London, then I wouldn't have an England board. I would just have a London board. So you want to niche it down if it makes sense. Now, if he had a ton of England content, or if he's planning on creating a ton in the near future, then I would go ahead and say, let's have an England board, or we may have both. We may have a London and an England. But in this case, I would recommend to change this board actually from England to London. And we can just change it, from England travel tips and guides to London travel tips and guides. That works great. All right. So let's see another board. Let's go over here. We're going to take a look at this Southeast Asia board and let those load up. Okay, so there were a couple things I noticed inside this board that I wanted to point out. One of the first things I noticed is that these are all video pins. You see the little 05 up here that tells me that this is some kind of a video. Now, it's probably just like an animated video. It's not, the whole image is not a video, but there's some animation, there's some movement to this pin. And video pins are great on Pinterest. However, I would not focus exclusively on video pins. Traditionally, static pins, meaning just a still image, have performed better over the long term on Pinterest. There are always changes in the Pinterest algorithm, just like in every other algorithm that we deal with as bloggers. So that's just something you have to get used to. And that's why you kind of want to test different things and, try not to get too honed in on just one specific thing because it's always fluctuating and always changing. So personally, I like to do a mix. I do 50-50. I will do half video pins and half static pins. And that way I feel like I'm getting a good push at the beginning if Pinterest is still doing that. And if they're not, I'm still getting the long-term benefits of the static pins. So that's just my personal choice, but you can choose to do any variation, percentage-wise. But I would say that the most I would do for video is 50%. I wouldn't do more than 50% of video because it just historically doesn't get you as many outbound clicks as a static pin. Okay, so that's one thing I noticed here. The second thing I noticed also has to do with video pins. All right, I want you to look at, there's a couple of these that I saw. Here's one right here. So the 10, you notice the title on the text overlay here. It's 10 best TE. Don't know what that means, right? We have another one down here, Taiwan versus what? I don't know. So one of the things that you have to be careful of when you are doing a video pin, when you go onto the Pinterest scheduler and you upload that video, it is going to have a little edit cover button on the bottom of your image once it uploads into the scheduling tool. You want to click on that button, and then what it's going to do is it's going to show you all of the kind of like breakdown images that are inside of that video. You want to select for your cover of the video pin the very last, farthest to the right image. And the reason is because anything that you have a movement, like especially if text is sliding in somehow, it's not going to show up if it has a cover that's earlier in those like still images of the video, if that makes sense. So that's probably what happened here. That is my guess. Now, do we go and fix this? I mean, I probably would. If it were me and my account, I would probably go in and actually delete these pins and just redo them. Okay. It's not a big deal. You can edit pins that have been published. However, at least what I have seen, it looks like there's a limitation on the image itself or the video. You can't change that out, but you can make changes to some other things. And I'll talk about that some more in a second. But because it won't let you do that, I would probably just delete these because you don't want those floating around. People probably aren't going to click on it anyway. And if they do start to identify this template as something of yours, like a branded kind of a template that you use a lot, then it also just kind of, it just looks unprofessional. So we want to fix that. And then the other thing that I was going to say about these right here is that the text overlay is really small. So keep in mind that your Pinterest users are primarily looking on their phones. And these images are really small. Like I'm on my desktop, so I can see them all really nicely. But on a phone, they're going to be really small. And so I always recommend that your text overlay take up at least at least 1/4 of the height of the pin itself, and up to one third. So 1/4 to 1/3. I would never go smaller than 1/4 for the text overlay here. And then the other thing that I noticed is that a lot of these do not have his site name or website listed. So that is something else I would probably throw in. That is considered a way of branding your pins. It doesn't make a huge difference, but if you do have fans on Pinterest and they happen to see one of yours, they're more likely to click on it if they know it's your pin. So over here, this one does. I'm gonna have to click off of it so you can see it, but this is the one I'm looking at, this blue one here. Backpacking Singapore Ultimate Guide 2024. When I click off of it, you can see down at the bottom, it's got abackpackersworld.com. Great. It is completely up to you how you want to do that, by the way. You can put www.abackpackersworld.com, or you can just say abackpackersworld.com, or you can just say abackpackersworld and put the spaces in it like you normally would. That is what I personally do. I have a little logo and I say My Travel Obsession, which is my travel blog. So people kind of know, like everybody knows these are websites that they're headed to. And so having the .com isn't really necessary, but it's completely very standard practice and there's nothing wrong with it. So if you like it that way, great, do it that way. But I would definitely make these bigger. All right, let's go back. I got one more thing I want to tell you about. Okay, so another thing that you want to be careful of, or when you're doing an audit, or when I do an audit for you, is we want to look at each board and make sure that all the pins on that board are actually relevant to that board. So this seems like a no-brainer, but it's an easy thing to mix up. So do a Pinterest audit every once in a while and go into each board and just make sure that the stuff you have in there is actually relevant to that board. Because again, that sends Pinterest signals as to what this board is about. So if we're mixing our content, they're going to be a little confused. They don't know who to show it to. They don't know who to show the stuff to. And we do not want that. We want it crystal clear for Pinterest. Okay. So the one I'm going to show you now is the Europe. Here we go. Europe board. This was one of the earliest ones I clicked on and I saw right away, is there Uber in Mexico in 2024? Well, last I checked, Mexico is not in Europe. So we want to take that pin off of this board. Now, again, I think this is one of the things you can actually edit after a pin has been published. So I can't do it because I'm not in the account, but Josh can do it. He can go into his account, go to this board, and there should be an edit feature and he can choose that and then he can change the board that it goes to. And that's what I would recommend. Another thing about the pin design I'm going to talk about is don't be too wordy on your pin titles. So this one, for example, there's a lot of text here. I mean, if I am scrolling on Pinterest, I feel like this is kind of a book, right? I'm not going to read all this. It's just too, well, maybe I would, because I see beer waffle really big. And so maybe that would catch my eye. But for the most part, we want to keep it fairly simple. You know, this is just a glance of what your pin is about. So that's one thing I would just reduce the amount of text on your text overlay for each pin. These other ones are fine. Okay. Like, yeah, these are great. No big deal. The other thing I would do is, like, on a pin design like this one here, is I would go ahead and bring that image up, like open it up so that it is going all the way to the sides, and so that it is a little bit bigger. So although I do want the text to take up a good portion of the pin image, the kind of the feature of every pin image really is the photo. Like, that's what's going to draw, especially for travel. That's what's going to draw your pinners in and make them want to, that's going to be the first thing that catches their attention. So you want to make that the photo bigger. The other thing is, on this one, I can see that it's a little off-centered. Now, you may be this might be one of the really, first pins you've ever done or something. We've all made those mistakes. It's not a huge deal, but just be careful of that kind of stuff. You do want it to look centered and professional and all of that as you're going through these. So looks like we've been playing around with different sizes. That's completely fine. Okay, so I think that is it. That's all I've got for you right now. So that is just a little glimpse into what I look at for a Pinterest audit. And Josh will be getting an email from me with this video, plus a whole bunch of just very specific recommendations. So I'm going to tell him exactly what I think his description should be, or exactly what I think the board name should be. And I'm going to list all that stuff out so he can literally just copy, paste it in if he wants to take that recommendation. Now, I do recommend that you do a Pinterest audit. Really, once a year is great. Whether you're doing it on your own or you hire me to do it, that is completely up to you. But I do offer this as a service, so I'll put that link in the description, of course. And yeah, if you like this video, if you found some stuff that was helpful, please comment. Let me know what you liked. I love that. Give me the thumbs up. And of course, subscribe if you have not already, so you don't miss any of the future Pinterest videos that we've got for you. All right. Until next time, we will see you later, and happy pinning.